Blasted into the bedrock 20 metres below Finland's capital Helsinki, there's a bomb-proof labyrinth of bunkers unlike anything else on Earth.
How many people can fit down here?
6,000 on full capacity.
Just across the bay, icebreaker ships sit ready for Arctic security missions.
We all know that the Arctic is important strategically, militarily.
And at an army base nearby, young male conscripts are being put through their paces. All important and potentially life-saving capabilities when you share a 1,340-kilometre border with Russia, which is now 3.5 years into its full-scale invasion of another smaller neighbour, Ukraine. Preparation is in Finland's DNA.
I guess for a small nation it's a matter of existence.
Finland would be an extremely difficult target for the Russians.
From mandatory conscription to these underground bunker systems, I want to find out why Finland is so prepared and what exactly it's preparing for. To understand why Finland is so prepared for future threats, it's helpful to look back at the ones it's faced in the past.
Finland was ruled by Sweden from the Middle Ages until 1809, when it was conquered by the Russian Empire. It declared independence in 1917, but was then invaded by the Soviet Union in 1939, in what became known as the Winter War.
Bitter fighting in this Arctic war.
When a peace treaty was signed in 1940, Finland retained its independence, but was forced to cede around 10% of its territory.
Our martyrized nation.
Next came World War II. Finland sought protection from the Soviet Union by siding with Germany and tried to reclaim the land it lost. But when Germany lost the war, so did Finland. It signed another peace treaty with the Soviet Union in 1947.
We were luckily able to fend them off. We are strongly aware that Russia might be a threat again at some point in the future.
That awareness is now part of the national psyche.
You have to prepare for all sorts of crises in order to be able to survive, essentially. And not just war, but also different kinds of conflict. So I guess, well, Finland has learned it the hard way.
I'm keen to find out more about how prepared for conflict or crises Finland really is.
So this is one of the sheltering halls.
Tommy Rask from the Helsinki City Rescue Department is taking me on a tour of one of the capital's biggest shelters. Right now, it's an underground sports and recreation hub with a car park, cafe and even a playground. But that can all be moved aside if Finland comes under attack.
How long would it take to convert it from normal time use to wartime use?
By legislation, we have 72 hours time frame to convert all the shelters to wartime use. We have been practicing in this shelter. We can convert this somewhere 6 to 8 hours.
Across a network of bunkers, the capital's entire population and any visitors would be safe from explosions, gas or nuclear threats.
In total, we have in Helsinki City for more than 5,500 independent shelters and sheltering places for over 900,000 people.
As well as the big community spaces, shelters are also built under people's homes or apartment blocks, in metro stations and in underground car parks. And if they're ever needed, everyone's told to bring water, food, bedding, personal hygiene items, a torch, chargers, books and toys. Everywhere you see this symbol in Finland, there's an underground shelter.
They are the last resort on the worst case scenario, so they are bringing some comfort.
Above ground, life seems pretty normal here. Russia's a 3-hour drive east of Helsinki though. So how do people feel about that?
Well, of course, at the moment the situation is pretty scary, but I don't feel like it because we've always been next to Russia and it's always been some kind of threat.
I feel secure and I can raise my children here and that's okay. And we are well prepared and we all feel safe.
I feel that because of our geographic location, we've been forced to be prepared, and I'm really happy that that's sort of something that has there's been a consensus among Finnish governments that we should keep investing in military.
And there's widespread support for that from the population too. A recent opinion poll asked if Finland were attacked, should Finns take up arms to defend themselves in all situations, even if the outcome seemed uncertain. 78% of Finns said yes. There's strong backing for mandatory military conscription too. When asked whether Finland's defence system should be based on the current system of conscription for men and voluntary military service for women, more than half of respondents said yes, while another 28% supported conscription for both men and women. We've come to Santahamina Army Base in Helsinki to meet some new conscripts.
We're ready, no matter what happens.
Would you go into battle?
I think I would, yes. If need be, I'm ready.
Finnish men see military service as an honour, not an obligation.
Suojaan!
There's a lot that I love about this nation, and there's a lot that I want to protect. It's not just a country, it's like my family, close ones, even like the small things like nature.
The main part of the Russian military force at the moment is tied in Ukraine. So there's no acute threat at the moment rising near our borders. However, in the long term, Russia is an aggressive dictatorship. So, of course, we need to continuously be aware of all potential scenarios.
Emil Kastehelmi, a Finnish military analyst who also examines Russian forces, has noticed a worrying trend in satellite images of the Russian side of the border.
What can we see here?
We can see a significant amount of Russian military activity, a lot of vehicles that have not been here before, and also a tent village set up here, and also some armoured vehicles.
He's talking about Russia's Luga base, which is only around 250 kilometres from southeastern Finland, and even closer to Estonia. There's also been some military expansion, he says, at a Russian base at Kandalashka, which is just over 100 kilometres from the Finnish border.
What are these two images showing?
These images are about a year apart, and they are showing rather extensive construction work.
Expansion of this military base?
Yes.
Before Russia's war in Ukraine, Finland was a neutral country and proud of it. But that invasion changed everything. Within a year, Finland joined NATO, a defence alliance between the US and European countries that now includes 32 member states. An attack on one is considered an attack on all. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who's now on the Russian Security Council, has accused Helsinki of laying the groundwork for a NATO attack. After joining NATO, Helsinki, under the guise of defence measures, has been pursuing a confrontational course of preparations for war with Russia, apparently creating a springboard for an attack on us, he wrote in a column for Russian news agency TASS last month.
Well, no, it's utterly false. NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO does not attack another country. Finland also is a small country. Of course, we would never be a threat to Russia.
Medvedev wants to make NATO look as an enemy, look as a threat, even though it isn't. What they are actually upset about is that they no longer have the option, the freedom to randomly attack unallied countries near their borders, because basically now there aren't any anymore.
NATO membership's given Finland extra protection, but it's also meant a seat at the top table for some of the region's most important conversations.
Finland is a country with just 5.5 million people, but while it isn't a big global player, it is proving to be an influential one.
It's been a staunch ally of Ukraine, and President Alexander Stubb has become a close confidant of his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky. But crucially, the Finnish leader is also building a solid relationship with Donald Trump. The pair played golf together at Mar-a-Lago in March, then met again at the funeral of Pope Francis in April. Stubb was part of a core group of European leaders who travelled to the White House for a debrief with the US president after his August in-person summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And the pair's just signed a deal for the US to acquire 11 Finnish icebreaker ships to bolster its national security in the Arctic.
We're buying the finest icebreakers in the world, and Finland's known for making them. They sort of have almost a monopoly on icebreakers, if you think about it. Nobody makes them like Finland.
I think this is a huge strategic decision by the president as well, because we all know that the Arctic is important strategically, militarily, and in terms of the economy as well.
The people I spoke to in Helsinki approve of what their government's doing to deepen ties with the US, defend Finland, elevate the country's status geopolitically, and help Ukraine. But I want to find out how Finns outside the city feel, so I'm driving out to the border. I'm heading 3 hours east to the town of Imatra. It's actually closer to the Russian city of St. Petersburg than Helsinki.
Just over that fence is Russia, but it's a no-go zone. Finland shut its border with Russia in 2023, and it has no plans to reopen it.
A 3-metre high and 200-kilometre long border fence is being built along parts of the boundary, and all road crossings have been sealed off indefinitely.
Before Finland shut its border with Russia, this road border crossing was bustling, with millions of people going back and forth all year round. Finns would go into Russia for cheap petrol, and Russians would come here for shopping and tourism. Now, it's totally empty.
Border communities such as Imatra are hurting.
These effects for the tourism has been very huge. The Russian people used to shop here many times. There was big shopping malls for the Russian tourists here, so the effects have been quite wide. And the city centre is now quite quiet.
Many people have lost their jobs and been forced to move away. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev's recent column continued. Due to the severing of ties with Russia, the entire eastern part of Finland is suffering from severe unemployment. The uncertainty of the economic outlook led to a slump in investment. It serves them right. In Imatra, it's pretty empty.
Everything is quieter. There are less people, less cars, less business.
But despite the economic hit, the locals who've stayed here want the border to stay shut.
The majority of Finns don't want Russian tourists until the peace is in Ukraine.
No, we are not. Of course, it might open someday, but no one knows when. It can be 5 months, 5 years, or 50 years.
Everywhere I've been, Finnish people seem aware of Russia's potential to be hostile, but not scared of it. And most put that down to their preparedness. They know how to fight. They know where to shelter. And they know why all of this matters. Because in the face of an increasingly aggressive neighbour, they want to keep their tiny nation at the top of the world peaceful and safe.